Hello, America, and to our friends around the world, greetings. Welcome back, everybody, to what everybody is saying, an ex-FBI agent's guide to speed reading people. And it's kind of a long book, over 200, well, roughly 250 pages of, I wouldn't say that's a guide, I would say that's a novel, but the information, as we've already discovered in chapters 1 and 2, is very dense. In addition to how the density of information, I just completed doing the body language video series number 20, talking about foot withdrawal. And I incorporated some of the images from this chapter, number 3, getting a leg up on body language, nonverbals of the feet and legs. Go back to that, the body language number 20, which is the second week of March 2025 that it was uploaded, because that information ties into what's discussed in here even a little bit. In the first chapter, I asked you to guess which is the most honest part of the body, the part that is most likely to reveal a person's true intentions and thus be a prime place to look for nonverbal signals that accurately reflect what he or she is thinking. It may surprise you, but the answer, you already know this. Yep. If you answered feet, you are correct. That's right. Your feet, along with your legs, win the Honesty Award, hands, or should I say, feet down. Now, I will explain how to gauge the sentiments and intentions of others by focusing on their foot and leg actions. In addition, you will learn to look for telltale signs that help disclose what's going on under the table, even when you can't directly watch the lower limbs. This is where that element card for foot withdrawal is critical, because it talks about this in the confirming gestures portion of the element card, and that is chair legs, for the object manipulation, object interaction, and jewelry. Those are just two examples. All right, let's get back to. First, however, I want to share with you why your feet are the most honest part of your body, so you'll gain a better appreciation for for why the feet are such good gauges of people's true sentiments and intentions. That was the opening of chapter 3. The subheading, an evolutionary footnote. For millions of years, the feet and legs have been the primary means of locomotion for the human species. They are the principal means by which we have maneuvered, escaped, and survived. Since the time our ancestors began to walk upright across the grasslands of Africa, the human foot has carried us quite literally around the world. Marvels of engineering. Our feet allow us to feel, walk, turn, run, swivel, balance, kick, climb, play, grasp, and even write. And while not as efficient at certain tasks as our hands, we lack an opposable big toe. Nevertheless, as Leonardo da Vinci once commented, our feet and what they can perform are a testament to exquisite engineering. Morris, 1985, page 239. The writer and zoologist Desmond Morris observed that our feet communicate exactly what we think and feel more honestly than any other part of our bodies. Again, Morris, 1985, page 244. Why are the feet and legs such accurate reflectors of our sentiments? For millions of years, long before humans spoke, our legs and feet reacted to environmental threats. Hot sand, meandering snakes, ill-tempered lions. Instantaneously, without the need for conscious thought, our limbic brains made sure that our feet and legs reacted as needed by either ceasing motion, running away, or kicking at a potential threat. This survival regimen, retained from our ancestral heritage, has served us well and continues to do so today. In fact, these age old reactions are still so hardwired in us that when we are presented with something dangerous or even disagreeable, our feet and legs still react as they did in prehistoric times. First, they freeze. Then they attempt to distance. And finally, if no other alternative is available, they prepare to fight and kick. This freeze, flight, or fight mechanism requires no higher order cognitive processing. It is reactive. This important evolutionary development benefited the individual as well as the group. Humans survived by seeing and responding to the same threat simultaneously or by reacting to the vigilant actions of others and behaving accordingly. When the group was threatened, whether or not they all saw the danger, they were able to react in synchrony by noting each other's movements. In our contemporary world, soldiers on patrol will fix their attention on the point man. When he freezes, they all freeze. When he lunges for the side of the road, they also take cover. When he charges ambush, they react in kind. With regard to these life saving group behaviors, little has changed in 5 million years. This ability to communicate nonverbally has assured our survival as a species, and even though today we often cover our legs with clothing and our feet with shoes, our lower limbs still react not only to threats and stressors, but also to emotions, both negative and positive. Thus, our feet and legs transmit information about what we are sensing, thinking, and feeling. The dancing and jumping up and down we do today are extensions of the celebratory exuberance people exhibited millions of years ago upon the completion of a successful hunt. Be they Maasai warriors jumping high in place or couples dancing up a storm, throughout the world, the feet and legs communicate happiness. We even stomp our feet in unison at ball games to let our team know we are rooting for them. As a side note, most everyone's seen the Disney classic Bambi and his sidekick, best friend Thumper the rabbit, who would, you know, you know, excitedly beat his foot against the forest floor. You know, so keep that in mind. That's an involuntary response. Granted, with animation, everything that's done with animation is deliberate and intentional, and in a lot of cases, it's exaggerated. But that is an example of what's being described here in this chapter, in this opening subset of the chapter. Other evidence of these foot feelings abounds in our everyday life. For example, watch children and their foot movements for a real education in feet honesty. A child may be sitting down to eat, but if she wants to go out and play, notice how her feet sway, how they stretch to reach the floor from a high chair, even when the child is not yet finished with her meal. And if I'm not mistaken, this, what he's describing here, is raising an infant that you're feeding, that elongation that a child, and an infant pre-toddler will exhibit, that stretching out to, yeah, they're elongating their body, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to narrow themselves to fit between the high chair tray and the back of the high chair seat and slide out as if they were jello, a pile of, a blob of ooze that could seep like jelly through the crack that between the high chair tray and the high chair back. And that's what he's describing here, is the elongating of the legs for their feet to reach the ground and stretch themselves until they can make contact with the ground. That is what's being described here. All right, so a child may be sitting down to eat, but if she wants to go out and play, notice how her feet sway, how they stretch to reach the floor from a high chair, even when the child is not yet finished with her meal. A parent may try to keep her in place, yet the girl's feet will inch away from the table. Her torso may be held by that loving parent, but the youngster will twist and squirm her legs and feet ever so diligently in the direction of the door, an accurate reflection of where she wants to go. This is an intention cue. As adults, we are, of course, more restrained in these limbic exhibitions, but just barely so. The most honest part of our body. When reading body language, most individuals start their observation at the top of a person, the face, and work their way down, despite the fact that the face is the one part of the body that most often is used to bluff and conceal true sentiments. I'm going to interject again. Part of this reason is you, as parents, you will be able to identify this very, very rapidly. And that is, did you try looking? I can't find it. I can't find the fill in the blank. And then the child, returns to the room or wherever back and forth to demonstrate that by their absence that they're looking. But in reality, if it's not right in front of them, if it's not at eye level, they're not looking. They're not dropping down to one knee or onto all fours. They're not standing on a step stool. They're not moving something out of the way, whether it's a blanket, a curtain, a box. They're standing just in, oftentimes they're standing just on the other side of the door, looking at eye level, maybe a little to the left, a little to the right, and then returning saying, I can't find it. And then you step inside and you immediately look down, look up, look fully to the left, look fully to the right. That diamond pattern that I've emphasized in other videos. And within a short amount of time, you're able to identify where the object is. Not always, but quite often. A lot of parents will recognize this. And that is, if it's not at eye level, people don't look. Play this trick with family members, friends, colleagues, when you're at work. When somebody walks into view, take another participant and ask them after that new person has come into the room and then exited, or even somebody that's been there for the entire day has exited, ask the other participant, were they wearing shoes? And have them describe what it was that they saw. Were they wearing tennis shoes, work boots, heels, open toe, Were they scuffed? What color were they? If they were heeled, how high were the heels? If they were tennis shoes, what brand? Adidas, Puma, Nike. Were they older shoes? Were they newer shoes? If they were work boots or combat boots, military boots, were they polished? These are the observational tricks. This ties into that observation video that I incorporated into uh, either earlier in chapter 2 or into chapter 1 that had the 6 individuals playing, the basketball back and forth. And then the questions asked, did you see the gorilla? Well, right off the bat, that's what you're looking for. You're waiting for the gorilla to come in and interrupt the gameplay. But then at the conclusion of the video, it was how many times was the ball passed? What shades, how many times did the curtain change color? At what timestamp did an individual exit the game? You can do the same thing with identifying footwear. Also, when somebody approaches you, they may look rough on the outside, but do their shoes match the rough exterior? These are the things that you need to be aware of when you're examining one's body language and their presentation. Is it in alignment? Is it congruent? All right. Now that you've had a moment to think about that, let's return to the book. My approach is the exact opposite. Having conducted thousands of interviews for the FBI, I learned to concentrate on the suspect's feet and legs first, moving upward in my observations until I read the face last. When it comes to honesty, truthfulness decreases as we move from the feet to the head. Unfortunately, law enforcement literature over the last 60 years, including some contemporary works, has emphasized a facial focus when conducting interviews or attempting to read people. Further complicating an honest read is the fact that most interviewers compound the problem by allowing the interviewees to conceal their feet and legs under tables and desks. Keep this in mind. This is why you want to have open exchanges, because in order when you walk up to another individual, you want to be on the same plane, the same footing, because anything else is going to be an opportunity for concealment of intention or or misdirection. You're not always going to have the most optimal situation, but your goal is to create as open an atmosphere to be able to understand what is being done. Are the feet pointed away? Are the hips turned away? Are they cocking their foot back? One of the videos I've just recently put up demonstrates a woman cocking her arm back just prior to her taking a swing at a man and then suffering the consequences of impacting an immovable object, and that being gravity grabbed her and pulled her down rapidly. When you give it some thought, there's good reason for the deceitful nature of our facial expressions. We lie with our faces because that's what we've been taught to do since early childhood. Don't make that face. Our parents growl when we honestly react to the food placed in front of us. At least look happy when your cousins stop by. They instruct, and you learn to force a smile. Our parents and society are, in essence, telling us to hide, deceive, and lie with our faces for the sake of social harmony. So it is no surprise that we tend to get pretty good at it. So good, in fact, that when we put on a happy face at a family gathering, we might look as if we love our in laws when, in reality, we are fantasizing about how to hasten their departure. Think about it. If we couldn't control our facial expressions, why would the term poker face have any meaning? We know how to put on a so called party face, but few pay attention to their own feet and legs, much less to those of others. Nervousness, stress, fear, anxiety, caution, boredom, restlessness, happiness, joy, hurt, shyness, coyness, humility, awkwardness, confidence, subservience, depression, lethargy, playfulness, sensuality, and anger can all manifest through the feet and legs. A meaningful touch of the legs between lovers, the shy feet of a young boy meeting strangers, the stance of the angry, the nervous pacing of an expectant father, all of these signal our emotional state and can be readily observed in real time. If you want to decode the world around you and interpret behavior accurately, watch the feet and the legs. They are truly remarkable and honest in the information they convey. The lower limbs must be viewed as a significant part of the entire body when collecting nonverbal intelligence. All right, I'm going to leave it there and we're going to resume with significant nonverbal behaviors involving the feet and legs. Happy feet. And if you're old enough, you might remember the animated penguin movie, Happy Feet. I never watched it, but if I'm not mistaken, it was about a penguin that broke out of the mold of penguin society and had a desire to dance. I don't know. Maybe you can tell me if I'm right or wrong about it. But the point is that was the name of the movie, and that's what we're going to cover next.